So I'm going to be sending out some mailers for the business, and I wanted to document the process in case anyone has never done it before. They can get some tips from me. I know, well, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that I'm going to mess something up. So as with most of my videos, I'm going to make some mistakes that you'll be able to avoid. I'm going to walk you through the process that I use. I haven't done a ton of research, very little, on what constitutes a good mailer. I don't have the resources for every door direct mail. Even if I did have the resources, I don't know if I'd want to spend that much for mailing. What I am planning on doing is sourcing all the materials myself, putting a mailer together myself. Nothing fancy, just a black and white flyer basically that'll get mailed out to all the houses in a specific subdivision that I want to target. Here's the rub. If I'm not mistaken, which I very well may be, direct mail has a success rate of something like 1%. This subdivision that I'm trying to get into, I've got one house in there I'd like more. The yards are the size that I can do quickly and competitively. This neighborhood only has 78 houses in it. That means if that 1% is accurate, how many clients am I going to get out of this? How many jobs am I going to get out of this? Right? So 1% of 78 is 0.78, which isn't even a full person. So one of the things that I've seen when it comes to mailers is you've got to do a lot of them. So we're going to see if it's at all possible on a small scale. There is another subdivision that I'd like to do this for as well. That one has around 140. I figured it'd be better just to do them by neighborhoods because the amount of materials that I've purchased, I don't have enough to do both, and I don't want to do this neighborhood and part of the other one because I feel like that'll just mix me up in the future when I go back to finish the rest of that one. That brings up, how much is this going to cost? Well, we're going to take a look at a presentation right now that I put together for you that details it to fractions of a penny. So let's take a look at that. When we look at this spreadsheet, this is just a cost breakdown so we can figure out what we're dealing with. Over here is the cost to purchase everything. We have our items, what they cost, how many of the items we got in each purchased, and a function of what each individual unit cost based, of course, on its total and its quantity. Over here is a much more accurate number to use, as this is the cost of each individual mailer. All that is a function of how many consumables it has, how many of each item it consumes. So for instance, a mailer will consume 2 labels, which is going to cost 7.6 cents, and that's simply our 3.8 cents per shipping label multiplied by 2. With envelopes, we'll only consume 1. Toner, 1.2 pages. That's about what I guessed for the page of the mailer itself, and then 1/5 of a page for the shipping labels. 1 stamp, 1 piece of paper, and 1 business card. So you can see we have about 74 cents per mailer. The biggest cost of that is stamps, which is 50.3 cents. Our labels cost 7.5 cents. Our envelopes, 8 cents. Toner, we use less than a penny of toner per mailer. 50 cents in stamps, that's going to be the largest cost of this mailer. 2.5 cents for a piece of paper. And then 5.5 cents for each business card that we use. And one more time, when we look at this number, I already had some of these items, so I don't want you to think that this is necessarily what I outlaid for this project. It's closer to the $80 mark, I believe, because like I said, I already had business cards, I already had paper, so I didn't have to purchase all of these things in one fell swoop. The reason I include this number is because it's important to see The reason I include this number is it's going to help me whenever I figure out my return on investment to have one bulk number that I can look back at and say, well, the whole project cost this much and it made me this much. When we come over here and look at a per mailer cost, that's just a little bit more detail that we can break it down into so that we have more information and more data. So then the question is, what are the steps? What I did first was I went to the local property appraiser's website and farmed out the name of the owner and their mailing address for every house in that subdivision. Getting all those names on a spreadsheet, that took maybe between 1 and 2 hours. The second step, figure out how you're going to address the envelopes. Are you going to do it by hand? Do you have an envelope and a printer that can be paired together to just print out your return address and their mailing address on it? What I ended up doing was buying shipping labels that I then were compatible with my printer that I could then print out and affix for my return address and their shipping address. So I didn't have to write down any addresses, but what I did have to do was type everybody's address and their names into a template. That took maybe an hour for 80 names. These are the shipping labels I got. They're made by Avery. Avery has a template that you can download and open with Microsoft Office Word or Google Docs, and they set it up so that you can edit it very easily. Not hard at all. So then the next step is postage. Pre-sorted first class, if you look that up, that's a thing, but from what I understand, there's a $150 either 6-month or annual fee to even be eligible for that. It does not postage from 49 cents down to 37 for letters. Once I saw 150 fee, I just stopped researching it. So I just ordered stamps from the post office. I did it online. The flyer itself, this took, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes to format and figure out the best wording for everything and doing tweaks and first and second drafts. It went quicker than I thought, but it still took some time. Basically what I did was I said, my name's Brad, I own a lawn care company and I want to expand in this specific subdivision, and I named their subdivision. Thanks so much for your time, and did my signature. And then underneath that, there's 3 boxes that basically say what's included, or how much, which is the first thing you see, how much, what's included, and why Copper Creek cuts. So each one of those boxes has maybe 2 or 3 bullet points that really get the message across. And I also committed to a price. I said most of the lots in this neighborhood can be done between 35 to, 40, I think, for weekly. Bi-weekly is X to X. So I actually gave prices because I feel like if people know the price that they're going to be expected to pay, they are more likely to call and say, yeah, this I've got a range now, I'm okay with it, I want you to come out and see. I felt like if I didn't put any price at all, that it would really hurt my chances of getting a response. Again, I didn't do much research onto the best tactic, so is putting a price good? Is it bad? I don't know. It's what I did though, and I'll let you know how it turns out. So you've got your envelope addressed, you've got it stamped, and you've got the mailer. All that's left to do is put it all together and send it off. And that's what you'll see some shots of me doing now. I'll do a follow-up probably 2 weeks. I think after 2 weeks there's no chance of them calling. So if I get any calls, it'd be in those first 2 weeks. Forgot to include that I'm also going to insert a business card as well. And the flyer's got all the contact info on there for me. So I think that pretty much covers it. If I've forgotten anything, I'm going to put some notes afterwards, so pay attention. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching. there we go. That took about 15 minutes to label all those.